got tears in my eyes.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday evening. If you're here in the Midwest, like all four of us are, it's a snowy, cold, early January night. But Top Rope Nation is talking a little 2023 pro wrestling tonight. We're going to heat it up. I got Justin Joint, I got Jesse Velasquez, and I got a very special guest on the line who I will introduce momentarily. To get things started, Justin Joint, how you doing tonight, sir?
Pretty good, man. Just bracing for that blizzard we're supposed to get tonight and tomorrow.
Yep, they have already called off school here. My two school-age children are quite excited right now. So
yeah, they have not called off my work yet, which I'm not assuming they will, because we're just spokes in the wheel there.
Yeah. Well, stay safe on your way to work tomorrow, Justin. We got anything in the glass tonight for the draft?
Yeah. So during the Christmas break, my father-in-law was in town and requested I get him a bottle of 12-year Buchanan, which is a blended Scotch whiskey. It is really good. So that's what I will be sipping on tonight.
Very nice. I like it. The hard stuff. Going with the hard stuff tonight. Jesse Velasquez, a little north of here. I don't know. Maybe it's a little colder than it is here in Iowa. How you doing?
10 degrees. My throat is 85%. We're almost there. We're supposed to get snow, I think, early afternoon. So picking up my son from immersion tomorrow might turn into an ice skating rink. Not looking forward to it at all. She'll see how that goes.
Safe. What do you got in the glass?
Good tires. So I felt the pressure from the two of you to kind of upgrade in terms of the alcohol perspective. This isn't cheap, but it's not expensive. And I'm staying clear tonight because of the throat. I went with a little Hendrick's gin.
Oh, Hendrick's is good stuff.
I've never tried it.
I have not had that either.
Got about a shot and a quarter in here, along with my customary Gatorade Zero, just to, keep the senses on point here. So I think this is gonna be a real fun time tonight. I'm really looking forward to it all, especially with our guest. I'm super excited to have him.
Let's bring him on right now. So we've been wanting to get this guy on the show for quite some time, and Jesse put the heat on. He said this would be the great guest to have on this show, and I've been talking to this man for quite a while. We've been talking, but honestly, most of our Twitter interaction, I would say, we followed each other because of wrestling, Phil Lindsay, but a lot of the times when we talk, it's more about Chicago sports and complaining about the Bulls or the Bears. And so just to the east of Justin and I here from the Windy City, it's Phil Lindsay by way of the Grapsity podcast on Fightful, Bleacher Report featured columnist. Phil, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I have not focused on the weather like you guys, and I have nothing to drink, so I am completely out of my depth, I guess.
I mean, it is the city of wind, as Common once said. So is it supposed to snow down there?
It's supposed to snow, but I expect cold weather. We've had a mild winter, so I don't know. Every time we have one of these like big storm scares and people are like, it's gonna snow, I'm like, it's winter. I expect it's gonna snow.
But has it been warm for you guys in Iowa?
Oh man, this was our first snow really of the year this week too. I mean, we had a little bit at one point in time, but I mean, the grass was still green on Christmas. It was very strange. So yeah, I mean, this week though, it's hit us hard. We had like about 12 inches of snow Monday night, like an inch last night, and it's supposed to, I don't know, like 10 tonight, something like that. Blizzard conditions. It's crazy. So I mean, I expect it, but what I don't like is that 90% of the population forgets how to drive in the winter every single time, and it's chaotic out there. So yeah, Phil, we are super excited to get you on the show though. And Jesse, you have anything you want to say about Phil joining? I know you're pretty pumped about this.
I do. So at the end of 2021, I had 3 podcasts on rotation: Top Rope Nation, Grapsity, The Corner. They're still on rotation to this day. I just so happen to be a member of Top Rope Nation. Yes, I listen back to our episodes. Yes, I help out in some way, shape, or form. So this is kind of a marriage of two of my three favorite podcasts going. So if you don't listen to Grapsity, Phil can promote it later too. But check it out on Saturday mornings. It's a really deep dive, and it's a very unique perspective on the world of professional wrestling amongst other things that they discuss.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, we're looking forward to this draft now. I don't know, no pressure, Phil, but yeah, this is tradition in Top Rope Nation, is these draft shows once in a while. So I'll let Justin explain the rules on what we're doing tonight. Go ahead, Justin.
Well, real quick, before I do that, Ryan, I have two questions for you.
Okay.
Did you tell us what's in your glass tonight?
I did not. I changed it up. I've been drinking a lot of zombie dust lately. I feel like fun, a lot
stuff.
of Sierra Nevada celebration. I got the Robert the Bruce 3 Floyds tonight.
Ooh, all right.
A little bit
Second
darker
question.
beer for the wintertime. Yeah.
What is that,
Second
Ryan?
question. Oh,
sorry about that, Justin.
I believe it's
What
like
style?
a Scotch ale. I think it's a darker, Scottish style ale. Yeah. I got it in the
Come down
glass
to
here. You know, got that
March.
darker color to it, so kind of reddish.
Okay.
Second question. What's your shirt?
Oh, this is a bootleg, but it is for the 1990 Wrestling Summit show over in Japan.
Oh, nice.
So we got Savage and Tenryu on there. You got Hogan and Hansen, I believe. Yeah, I picked this up online like a year ago or so.
Very nice.
Non-official, but a lot of times the non-official stuff is the best stuff I have found. So
I
love
also
that you
the only
noticed it.
person here that doesn't have a wrestling shirt on.
Yeah, what's on your shirt, Phil?
It's the Lupe Fiasco sweatshirt.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. Nice, very nice.
We're hip hop fans on this show.
Oh yeah. All right, Justin.
Okay.
What's the rule? This was your idea.
Yep, we're not doing an auction this time. We are doing snake fashion. We are going to draft in 5 categories, and you can fill those categories whenever you want. Obviously, once someone takes something in a specific category, you cannot take that anymore. The categories are Men's Wrestler of the Year, Women's Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Match of the Year, and Show of the Year. So those will be the categories we'll be filling up tonight.
And just before we went live, we did our draft order, did a little list randomizer, and it came out that the new guy on the block gets the first pick. Phil's going first, Jesse, Justin, then myself, and then we'll snake back. So, Phil, the floor is yours. You can choose from any of those 5 categories and tell us what your pick is and why.
Unlike the Chicago Bears, I will try not to waste this number 1 pick. I'm sure that they're going to try and waste this pick this year. Well,
yeah, I think so too.
Just be safe. Take Caleb. That's all they got to do. Just take Caleb.
I don't think they should take Caleb. I actually think either they should trade the pick or they should get a receiver.
Marvin Harrison Jr. just declared today, right?
I agree.
That's what I think. But I'm going to take Wrestler of the Year, Men's Wrestler of the Year, and I am going to take Big Willie Ospreay.
Nice.
I think in terms of like in-ring, I don't know if anybody had the year that he had across multiple promotions, had probably multiple match of the year contenders with more than one company, possibly a part of my match of the year as well. Yeah, I think he was kind of a no-brainer for Wrestler of the Year.
Man, a dagger right into the heart of Jesse.
I was just thinking that. Jesse, I guarantee you were going to pick that word.
100%. I thought it was
you
a
can get one of
reach
his
at
matches, Jesse. Not to like nudge you in a certain direction, but
I know.
Without giving it away, Ryan, would he have been your Wrestler of the Year?
Top 2 for sure. Possibly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You?
Nope.
You, Justin? No?
Nope.
No?
You would not
Okay.
be.
All right. Well, I mean, first pick overall, I'd say that's a pretty solid choice. Jesse, what do you got?
In terms of Wrestler of the Year?
Whatever your pick's going to be.
Whatever my
pick's
pick's going to be.
I would assume Ospreay would have been yours.
Ospreay was right on top. I had like a dissertation on why too, and I was just
give it to us.
We don't need to go into that.
Do it,
anymore.
man. You can still do it, even though it wasn't a pick.
I mean, Phil covered a lot of it. He spread out across 3 different continents. I believe it was like 6 different countries. And unreal. 32-5 win-loss record, as Chris Charlton mentioned on Wrestle Kingdom 18. I mean, look at his match quality alone. Kenny Omega twice, Speedball Mike Bailey, Zack Sabre Jr., Jon Moxley, Josh Alexander. One of the best matches of the year was Shota Umino. By the way, if you haven't seen that Power Struggle in November, Shota, like I said, I think he's going to be the leader, the ace coming up in a couple of years, but I could be wrong. I don't know. So,
yeah, gave us a
Well said.
incredible Kenta match out of nowhere. One of the best Kenta matches we've seen in probably like 5 years.
Yeah.
On top of that, he's the son of Red Shoes. You come on now. You got to love that guy.
Nice. All right. What's your pick, Jesse?
Oh, do I lose the draft right here? I'm being serious because I had somebody try to nudge me in a direction to take a certain person in this pick. I am not going to do that. I am going to go match of the year. And since we're going to lock up Will Ospreay in this one, Ospreay Omega from Wrestle Kingdom 17.
I could have called that. I knew that was go.
I went with my heart on this one and not my head. I will explain what the head pick would have been a little bit later when I think it goes. I watched this match very early in the morning, turned every social media device off. Coffee was just absolutely brewed to a T, laser focused, and I think much like in a lot of customary fashions the last few years, January 4th usually produces a top 1 or 2 professional wrestling match of the year. And these guys put on everything that I wanted and more. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it, please.
Phil, are you one of those guys that will watch Wrestle Kingdom live? Do you get up early in the morning or stay up all night? Are you one of those guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesse's hardcore too.
Yeah, it was worth staying up for this year. We got the Bryan match, got Naito completing the story. Yeah, I usually stay up. I've said more than once, I think that New Japan is possibly my favorite company out of all the wrestling companies. So I usually try to stay up.
So I assume you probably got tickets today to the show coming to Chicago at the Wintrust?
I did not, but I'm going to eventually.
Yeah. I saw there was a pre-sale today, I think. So I was thinking about it. I almost texted you, Justin, about you want to go to Chicago in April for a New Japan show? There's plenty of tickets left still from what I saw, but
What,
a good time.
what weekend is it?
It's like the 13th, 18th, something like that.
It's the week of WrestleMania.
Oh.
Is it?
Ooh.
Yeah. Is it like the Saturday after Mania or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
WrestleMania
right.
is that Sunday. It's that following Saturday. I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Or
That might
Friday.
be possible.
Might be Friday, I think.
Okay.
And they'll get a lot of AEW talent in there, I'm assuming, because look at this strong card coming up here on Saturday in San Jose. Ooh, loaded.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think the fact that they're doing Wintrust kind of makes me think that they're going to have AEW, because AEW runs Wintrust quite often. So, yeah, and this is the first time Strong is running Wintrust. So, kind of makes me think they're going to have AEW.
Yeah.
I think they might need some help just because of, losing Jay White this year, losing Will Ospreay. And then, obviously there's rumors about, where's Okada going to go? Personally, I think he's going to stay with New Japan, but boy, that would be a tough one if they lost him.
Yeah.
I even heard Nakamura make a mention of bringing Chaos to Cody on this most recent Raw. So.
Mm-hmm. They like to lean into those teases, even if they're not going to get them. Yeah.
They're not getting out of it. I'm not buying
it.
that.
I don't think so. All right, Justin, what do you got for us? Number 3.
All right. I think there's one category here that is pretty dire as far as depth goes. So I'm going to fill it now because I think, honestly, there's only 2 really good choices for it. So I'm going to go with the one that was actually team for the full year. I'm going to pick my tag team of the year, and that's going to be FTR, who, kind of once they finally re-signed with AEW, kicked it off, beating the Guns for the tag team titles. They had those 2 great matches against Juice and Jay White, and they're just about as good as it gets. I mean, this is a pretty weak year for both, I'd say, tag teams themselves and kind of tag team matches for that matter. I mean, there's definitely some top quality ones, but compared to, I think, previous years, this one was a little dire.
Agree. Yeah, I had trouble filling out this category on my big board for sure. So I like that, getting that one out of the way early, getting a top team there. That would have been my pick. I think this is pretty difficult. So I'm gonna have to reach down if I choose to go that way next. Guys, any thoughts on FTR though before we push forward in the year that they had? Jesse, do you think a down year for them, even though they're right there at the top? Do you think, a better year than last year? Do you think right about the same? Any thoughts?
Slightly down from 2022. They didn't quite, the only thing they didn't do in 2022 was win the AEW World Tag Team Championships. They dropped every title almost before the year started. They lost the IWGP tags to Bishamon and then took a few months off and started rolling from April on. So there's that cough. And yeah, no, I think FTR is the undisputed number 1 tag team out there for sure.
Phil, any thoughts on FTR's year?
I don't know if I would say they're undisputed number 1, but I think that they're definitely in the conversation. I would say, other than the guy that, the show was billed as his show, Collision was kind of their show for a minute. They were they were carrying Collision for a minute with their matches, with the storylines. I think even currently, the storyline with House of Black was one of the better things going on Collision.
Yeah. Agree. It's weird because when I started thinking about this category, you naturally go to FTR as one of the top tag teams in the world. And I kind of felt just offhand before I started diving back into the matches they had this year that it was definitely a down year for them. And I think it was a down year for them, but still a down year for FTR is really, really damn good. And then, you start going back through some of even just the television matches they had, and it was still a heck of a year for them. So I wouldn't say as good as 2022, but that was pretty top tier stuff, especially, what they do with the Briscoes and everything. But I think they probably would have been my number 1 pick. There's like 2 other teams I was definitely considering though. So I'm not going to go tag team first though with my pick here. I'm going to a category that I struggled with even more because I want to make sure I get a top contender here, and that's female wrestler of the year. All right. And to me, this was a pretty easy choice. Got to go with Rhea Ripley. I think she's been a cornerstone on WWE television this year. I think what she's done just character-wise with Judgment Day, when Judgment Day started with Edge, we were pretty negative on this podcast on the faction. But that said, once Edge was out, I think it's become one of the best things on television. And I think a lot of that is due to her. She's the leader of Judgment Day. She's the most compelling character in Judgment Day to me. She had a legit match of the year contender with Charlotte at WrestleMania where they righted a wrong from a few years back where Charlotte went over her. And that's another thing too. When you think about Rhea Ripley, this is someone who had all the momentum in the world. They bring her up from NXT and then she loses to Charlotte at WrestleMania and it just was crushing. It took her a long time to recover from that and to regain momentum. And she's done that and then some this year. Are you looking for like constant 4.5-star matches out of her? No, but she's had that match with Charlotte this year. But to me, it's more about recovering the momentum that she had, becoming the cornerstone of one of the best factions in the company, cornerstone of television, really. And just, she's become one of the biggest female stars in the company. And so to me, I wanted to get Rhea Ripley if I had the chance. So I'm going to take that one off the board right now. What do you guys think? I saw a lot of nodding.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Kind of like with tag teams, I also struggled with this category. The only knock against Rhea was just kind of the lack of top tier matches, but she does have the absolute classic at WrestleMania Night 1. and I also shout out her work with Dominic was some of the best stuff on television and off television, just on social media. I mean, they've got that worked out really well. That relationship, it's great stuff.
Yeah. Jesse, jump in here. What do you think?
This was the person that I alluded to that I probably should have drafted at 2. I felt, however, again, tremendous year, leader of a all male faction outside of her, showing tremendous chops, and we're looking forward to seeing what 2024 has in store for her. I think the sky is the limit for Miss Ripley. She's been doing just a tremendous job, not only on television, but also even in her small stints in the ring. She had a great match with Ivy Nile about a week and some change ago, too.
Mm-hmm. Phil, thoughts on Rhea's year?
I think she had a great year in terms of, all the things you said character-wise, getting a big win over Charlotte. Judgment Day is constantly on TV on multiple shows. I just think for me, in terms of matches, it wasn't that impressive of a year for me. She had the Charlotte match. She had the Natalya match on TV. But other than that, not a lot of the other ones were that memorable. That's the only reason why I wouldn't have picked her as my women's wrestler of the year. But, other than that, it's hard to argue with her.
Yeah, it kind of just comes down to what are you factoring in, for your wrestler of the year? I agree. Match quality wise, there's better options for sure. But yeah, for me, just total package, I had to go with Rhea Ripley. It's been a hell of a year for her. So I'll take her for women's wrestler of the year. And then, I think we'll stay on a similar topic and I'll go men's wrestler of the year. And I'll get this one out of the way right now.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
This one, when I look at my list, I had 6 people that I would be happy with any of them, really. But my 1A and 1B have pretty much remained the same. And for the listeners of the pod, they're not going to be surprised. If you're in our Facebook group, you're not going to be surprised. I'm taking Bryan Danielson.
Shit.
I know he's missed time, but at the same time, you miss time for injury. But when he's been in there or working injured, look at what this man has done in 2023. I mean, you want to talk about match quality, like Phil just said. This guy in 2023 had arguably the best Iron Man match of all time with MJF at Revolution. And one of the best technical matches of this generation was Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream. He had the first time the Dream match at Forbidden Door with Okada, and then they just repeated that in early 2024, so I can't factor that in. That match was even better, but I did like, despite the injury, I liked the Forbidden Door match quite a bit. Let's see, what else was he in?
Strap match.
The strap match that we were in, or we were at. We weren't in. That would have been painful. We were at. We were at it. Phil was at it. It was one of those things where, a week before that show, we were so pumped all summer, to go to All Out, and then All In gets announced, and that card was looking really good, and we were kind of bummed. They didn't really build up All Out too much, but then that week of All Out, they really built it up, and then we got Bryan Danielson making the surprise return on Collision, and he has what I think is the best strap match of all time with Ricky Starks at All Out, which ended up being a hell of a show, by the way. Like, all of our fears were quickly wiped out sitting there in the United Center that night. And I mean, outside of that too, he had a really good match this year with Roosh, Anarchy in the Arena. What else this year?
Takeshita.
Yep.
Takeshita,
Bandito, yep. Timothy Thatcher. He just had one with Christian not too long. And then everything he did in the
Kingston,
the C2.
Yeah.
Everything
Claudio
was amazing. Yeah.
So, it was weird because we brought this up in our Facebook group multiple times, and some people scoffed at it. We were beside ourselves. How can you scoff at Bryan Danielson? Look at the resume for Wrestler of the Year. I don't know how you don't consider him. And some people would bring up, he missed long stretches of time. It wasn't that long of a stretch, really. And he wrestled a lot this year in spite of that. So I'm really happy with Bryan Danielson as my Wrestler of the Year, and I'm glad to get it here as the first pick of round 2. Justin, you were pretty disappointed, it looked like, when I said that name.
Yeah, this is my Wrestler of the Year for all the reasons that you gave. I think my favorite wrestler ever might be Eye Patch C2 Danielson. It was just incredible. All of his stuff with Eddie Kingston was magical. Yeah, I just and not to mention, it's the kicking off of kind of his pseudo retirement tour. This is kind of the last we're going to get of full time Danielson, and I mean he is absolutely going out with a bang too. I can't wait to see what he does in 24.
Yeah, Jesse.
You guys hit every single thing. I honestly considered him with the second pick just to steal your thunder, Ryan. I really did. And it probably would have stolen a lot of thunder in the groups that are going to vote on this category too, or just the draft as a whole.
Yeah, this is one of those things where a strategy, this is why these shows are so fun. Strategy factors in because you start looking at it and you're like, you want to get some of those top picks from your big board and you got to decide where to take them. Because, you might not end up with them on your board at the end of the night. Like Justin said, if we were just choosing our wrestler of the year, he would be your wrestler of the year. But now you're forced to go another direction, at least for draft purposes. So what do you think, Phil, on Bryan Danielson's 2023?
Yeah, I think he was definitely in the conversation. Probably 1B for me. That stretch of TV matches he had right before the MJF match was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
He's had several really good TV matches. Like when people are like scoffing at this, I think you should go back and look at like the list of TV matches, not just the pay-per-view matches, the list of TV matches he had this year. Did not disappoint.
No, nearly unparalleled in 2023 for television matches for sure. All right. So Bryan Danielson off the board. This leads us to Justin Joint. What do you got?
Yeah, well, since he is off the board, I'm just going to go back to, instead of, picking with my heart, I'm going to go back to my head and strategy. I'm going to take care of the other category that I had some pretty major concerns with. I'm going to take, luckily, the person who I had number one on my board here for Women's Wrestler of the Year. I'm going to take Athena, who was the Ring of Honor Women's Champion the entire year, won it in December of 22, and had it the entire year. Just in the thing about her, kind of like with Rhea, she doesn't really have a lot of like classic matches this year, but you can almost put on any one. And just because of the way she's been working since she left WWE, it's just so incredibly unique. I mean, and you could almost just call it, strong style. She's just had an incredible year. And like I said, besides from maybe the lack of classics, the only other knock against her is that she's kind of behind a paywall is the only way you can watch her. Why she is not on AEW television more often is just beyond me. So yeah, I'm going Athena here.
When you made that pick, I could see Jesse. Like he was beside himself. And I'm pretty sure I saw a little bit of Phil Lindsay die. I saw the look in his eyes. I feel like Phil was maybe thinking about Athena for Women's Wrestler Year too. Phil, where are you at on Athena's year?
I don't think it's any debate. I don't think anybody else is in the conversation or even close. She was Women's Wrestler of the Year. I think that when you look at all of the complaints people have had with AEW's women's division, and you look at Ring of Honor, it is night and day. It is a completely different show in terms of women's wrestling, and that is partially because of Athena. They had to establish another belt because this woman will not lose. I also disagree with the idea that she doesn't have any classics. She had two incredible Willow matches last year. She had the Chicago street fight with Kira at United Center that was also really, really good. She had the Layla Hirsch match that is incredibly underrated. She's another one with just a list of matches. If you go through there, not even close, I don't think, in terms of U.S. wrestling, not even close. There's no one else even in the conversation.
Yeah, I could tell I saw that look in your eye. You were disappointed. Absolutely. Well said. Jesse, how you doing, man? Have you recovered?
I thought it was too early to take her at 2. I didn't think either of you were even considering her at all. I'm just going to go steal her at 7 and watch Phil die inside. I was dead serious.
I would have strongly considered even taking her over Danielson there just because of the depth of the, men's wrestler of the year and how, head over everybody else she is compared to all the other ladies. And the best thing when you make a pick is when everybody else makes your argument better than even you did. So thank you.
Go look at the Billy Stark story. It's on
Yeah.
YouTube. So good. I mean, Phil covered all the matches, I think. The double with Willow, who, by the way, handed Athena her only singles loss this year. So, yeah, I think undisputed number one, just like Phil said. And yeah, I did die inside. I was like, I'm just going to steal this in the second round. I'll just take the match of the year that I want, just kind of pat myself on the shoulder. So nice work, Justin.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. First woman to
Very
main event to Ring of Honor pay-per-views as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Think
right.
It's
There you
her
go.
year.
Yeah. Jesse, it's wide open now after that. What are you thinking for your next pick?
In terms of I think hierarchy on this list, because the one category I took is super deep still. That's still deep. All right. Well, I'm going to take the event that I want first. It's completely throwing me off my board because, again, there's so much depth here. I scrolled through all four where I felt were very equal. I'm going AEW's Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
I think top to bottom, it was excellent. I'm looking at the other three that I had, and there were a ton of moments there too. You had the Hangman Moxley match in the middle that was, you could arguably throw in the match of the year conversation. People kind of forget about it because the main event was just so good. You had House of Black in a trios match with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. That was tremendous. That would have stolen quite a few shows as well. I think just top to bottom, the depth of that show and just kind of the meaning of it, the crowning of MJF is he's not just a character. The guy can go in the ring too. Granted, he had a dance partner with Danielson as well, but I mean, this elevated him to yet another level. So I'm going with AEW Revolution.
And also, don't sleep on the final burial match. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Even though it was a little cheesy how Christian just dropped to the floor, lickety split at the end, but it was really fun.
Right after a decent Ricky Starks Chris Jericho match, which opened the show.
I was going to say one of the last really good Chris Jericho matches, wasn't it? I mean, he's had a very down year, but that was a pretty good match. Yeah. I think this is a common pick for AEW's best show of the year. I mean, AEW always has great pay-per-views for the most part, but yeah, this is definitely up there, I think. No argument for me. Phil, Revolution, any thoughts?
Not my pick, but I think that it's one of a few AEW shows that were up at the top for me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what do you got, Phil? You got 2 picks in a row. You can go any direction you want here.
I won't say I struggled, but I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer who is breakout star of the year. So I'm gonna get that one out the way. I think it's clearly LA Knight. Like nobody else made a larger leap from 2022 to 2023. This guy starting the year with that match with Bray that was heavily criticized, and even the program itself, people were wondering, where does this guy go from here? And then he turns around and inexplicably becomes one of the hottest wrestlers in the world, not just in WWE, in the world. You can go to AEW shows right now and hear yeah chants. You can see people dressed up as this guy at any promotion you go to see at this point. And it's not like he had this huge category of matches. It's not like he had this huge year of moments, but in terms of guys that are just I said, that moved the furthest ahead in a year, it's LA Knight by far. Also got the main event with Roman at Crown Jewel. He's in the midst of another title match with Roman. Wouldn't have guessed that this would be where LA Knight is, but super happy for him.
Justin?
I mean, I can't argue against that pick. Guess the only problem is that it wasn't one of the categories.
No. Sorry.
No, I think if we were doing breakout star of the year, though, I mean, that's pretty much automatic for sure. You laid the case out. And that is a common year-end award for sure. But yeah, we don't have. What do we got now? Tag team, men's wrestler, female wrestler, match of the year, event of the year. Yeah, okay. So you got to be with one of those 5. But I mean, That was a great case. I might cut that into a YouTube short, despite that not being a category.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what would be the other options for breakout star.
Dom, maybe.
That's
Like
one.
he'd be in the conversation. He's just improved a lot this year. I mean, look at the crowd reactions to that guy. I mean, he's better in the ring than he was. He's still not like a great wrestler in the ring, but like from a personality standpoint and just as a performer, I think overall he would be in the conversation.
We all knew Swerve's greatness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's enough.
Yeah. I would say Julia Hart's in the conversation as well.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I was going to say Sky Blue, but I mean, she's kind of been around for a while too.
Yeah, but like more featured on TV this year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I could see that. All right, Phil,
Actual
I'm gonna throw it
categories.
back to you. Yes.
Tag team of the year. That one's. I'm gonna go with event of the year.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Wrestle Dream. I think Wrestle Dream is probably one of the top shows of last year in terms of matches. I think that it had a really, really good crowd. I think having the Zack Sabre match with Brian on that card, as well as the very first Swerve match with Hangman, which was really, really good. And then closing the night with Adam Copeland debuting, I think it was one of the better shows this year.
Well, damn it, that was going to be my pick. I knew I probably wouldn't get it by the time it circled back to me. This is a problem going at the end. Like it's been forever since Phil picked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he forgot the categories. It's been so long since he picked.
That's true.
By the time it gets back to me, I'm gonna have this beer done and I'm gonna be feeling pretty good, but I'm gonna be left with not a lot of great options probably. So
I think that would have been mine too. I mean, because you know, even the ones that he mentioned, you still have, you know, the main event with Christian Cage and Darby Allin was really good. I mean, there really wasn't any misses on this entire card.
No.
It was 1B for me. I actually scrolled up and down Cage match, watched half of Revolution, and then a couple of the matches that I didn't really remember from Wrestle Dream just to make sure this was the pick that I wanted. It was very, very close. So, yeah, 1B.
I think that those two that have been picked, Revolution and Wrestle Dream, not that there weren't other really good shows and we're going to talk about them, but to me, those two pretty easily stood above the rest. Those were my top two for sure. And they're now off the board. Damn it.
Yeah.
So
that was also Julia's kind of coming out party as well, because that was where the first TBS title match was. Really good pay-per-view.
Yeah, agree. Can't argue with it. You still have women's wrestler, tag team, and match of the year for your categories. Yeah, we're snaking back around, so it's your pick again.
Tag team of the year is a little bit tougher for me, so I'm going to go ahead and jump and get that one out the way. I'm going to go with Sammy and KO. Just in terms of accomplishments this year, being one of the first teams to main event WrestleMania, getting a win over the Usos at Mania and ending their run, and just bringing like the PWG reference to WrestleMania is huge for them. I think they had like a streak of really good TV matches, main eventing Raw as well. I kind of wish that their reign had ended better than it did. But I think in terms of output and in terms of accomplishments, it's kind of hard to debate anybody else.
Yeah, honestly, man, I think you might have won the draft with those two picks. And then especially when you factor in Ospreay. We still got a little ways to go, but it is hard to argue. I mean, when I made the list, and I already said the tag team was one of the hardest ones I had. I wrote down FTR and Zayn and Owens, and then I struggled for everything after that. So I think you got the second of, you know, the top tier of tag teams this year.
Yeah, I agree. This was I was considering it with my second pick when I went before. You know, like I said, I wanted to get a women's wrestler, and then I was thinking tag team too, because those were the two categories I struggled the most with coming up with 4 options. But I just wanted Brian on my list so bad that I went with Brian. Now I'm regretting it. There are definitely like men's wrestler of the year has a lot of contenders. I should have waited. And yeah, this is a good pick. I regret not doing it now. So, all right. Well, that leads us to Jesse.
Okay. This is where strategy comes into play here. So I'm going to take the third tag team off the board right now. This, again, very, very short here. And this is probably people's fourth, fifth, sixth. This is personally my third. I'm going Aussie Open. Unified IWGP tag champs with the strong. ROH tag champs. Competed in multiple, those AEW as well. I mean, injury to Mark Davis towards the tail end of the year, but I think Kyle Fletcher, my goodness, like that kid in a few years is going to be, if he decides to go to the singles division, I think he's got a shot to be a very top tier performer wherever he lands, even if he stays in AEW, becomes a main eventer there, or travels elsewhere. But you could just tell even last summer when they competed with Will Ospreay in the trios division that they had something. And they were able to convey that to audiences in the performances that they had, not only in Japan, but also on AEW television and Ring of Honor television, for that matter. They were behind a paywall a lot this year, too. So Aussie Open's my choice. They had a really sterling win-loss record as well, for those who care.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason that they weren't more of a no-brainer for me was the injury. I mean, we kind of lost almost a quarter of the year because of the injury. So that really held them back in my rankings, but you're not going to get any arguments from me.
They were next up on my list, so now I'm going to be struggling. For sure.
On my made-up category, Kyle Fletcher's another one that could have been on anybody's list for like breakout star of the year.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, nice pick. I think, I'm going to have to go tag team here in a minute. And I'm going to struggle. But, all right. Where are we at here? Justin?
Yep. Okay. Boy, I was so into your guys' picks, I kind of forgot mine was coming up. And now I have a decision to make. Okay. I'm going with my heart here. Finally. The one thing with this pick is that it's, because we say when we watch matches, you can have a match that in the moment feels like a classic, but sometimes like matches need to age like wine. You have to go back and see, did they have a long-term effect on things, or was it just kind of a one-off? And this is one of those matches. And this is a match where I'm betting for a payoff down the line, and that this wasn't just kind of the peak of the trajectory for one of the wrestlers involved. I'm going with a match that had me cackling and giggling like a schoolgirl while I was watching it. I'm going with Hangman Swerve Texas Death from Full Gear.
Justin, this has been a rough round for me. Yes. Yeah, can't argue. I mean, shocking to some people, Justin, that they would have that much blood. Even people who covered ECW back in the day were stunned. Stunned you could like this match.
He didn't ingest it, everybody. He spit it out in one of the coolest pictures ever. It was incredible. And like I said, so what I was alluding to was, if for some reason Swerve doesn't end up AEW World Champion, I think that's going to hurt the way I kind of look back on this match. But I am betting on Swerve actually getting to the mountaintop. And this is the match that really, shined a light on him being a top guy, being a main eventer. Going in, I don't think a lot of people bought the fact that, he could get the win against Hangman in Hangman's, speciality. You go back to Revolution where he beat Moxley in a Texas Death. And this is not a perfect match. I think it could have gone without the Brian Cage interference. Another small complaint would be that the cinder block was maybe just a little too gimmicked. But other than that, I could watch this match over and over again. It is just incredible.
I agree. I have watched it maybe three times. Love that match so much. Great pick. Guys, any thoughts? Jesse?
Yes, this is very, very high on my board. I have watched it 2 times. the Top Swerve Nation shirts coming out. Please don't sue us. Phil, I know you know some people, so please don't get us sued. No, I seriously, I think that was a tremendous match, and we're gonna see a third installment here at some point in time. I think it's gonna be for some gold. Can't wait for
I
it.
sure hope so. I sure hope so. Phil?
Yeah, it's pretty high on my list of match of the year candidates as well. I agree that it's one of the things that push Swerve into a different stratosphere. I feel like there's no way this man cannot end up as champion sometime this year. It has to happen at this point. He's just way too over. He's just, it's time. It's his time. You could tell during the Continental Classic as well. It's just his time.
Yeah. You can just feel the momentum every time the guy's out there. Certainly you can feel it live. I mean, this match, he's still basically working heel, but I mean, like, he was the dastardly heel in this feud, and yet everyone was cheering for him, it seemed like. And I agree. This is what really pushed him over the top. That was such a memorable match. And I mean, it's one of a handful of matches that it's gonna live on from this last year for decades. Probably people will be talking about that match, I think. So I am disappointed.
That's going to be the fascinating thing going forward here with Swerve, because, you know, he is a heel right now. But when you combine someone who is so good in the ring and just so naturally cool like he is, he's going to be a babyface at some point this year, in my opinion. Expect, you know, with the crowd reactions, like you already said, you're already seeing signs pop up all over the place. That you got the reaction to Whose House, you know, so just a matter of time.
My oldest daughter was so confused last night watching Dynamite with me. She's 8, and she loves Swerve, as does my 5-year-old. They do the dance every time he comes out. And so, you know, he came out, and then later in the show, when she saw, you know, the rest of the Mogul Embassy, she was so confused, even though she watches it like pretty much weekly. Wait, why is Swerve with them again? Because those are bad guys. I'm like, well, you know, like, yeah, technically he's a bad guy too, but we like him, you know, so. Yeah, great pick, Justin. You had to get it one before me. So I am, man, I wanted that. I was thinking about Aussie Open. I was thinking about Sammy and KO to get my I'm going to save tag team now just because I'm the only one left with tag team. So
Justin
I'll save
might
that
do it 2 drafts in a row.
Man, yeah, you won our last draft, right? Usually, Phil, what we do is we do like a social media poll on who wins the draft, and we'll put a graphic up. So all right. I guess I will go. There's so many choices for match of the year. It's pretty deep. I think I'll go wrestling event of the year next. We have 2 off the board. One more person need to pick event of the year still.
Same, me.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with the show we were at then. Ooh. I think I'm gonna go with All Out at the United Center. This is, you know, we criticize Uncle Dave sometimes here on the show and his star ratings, but I mean, if you just strictly go by the Observer star ratings on the show, there's 4 matches, 4.5 stars or higher. That's incredible. You know, I said it earlier when I picked Brian, we got arguably the best strap match of all time with Ricky Starks on short notice. To me, it was the best strap match of all time. I've seen quite a few, and this is up there. We got Brian coming out to Final Countdown, which added on to the mystique of that match for sure. Loved that being there. Takeshita and Omega. I mean, that was a match that some people had as their match of the year. I saw out there. We got, you know, Orange Cassidy in the main event with Moxley showing he belonged in the main event after, you know, Cassidy was someone who was kind of in the Wrestler of the Year category a lot of the year too, maybe in contention. Getting that main event spot. He lost to Moxley in this one, but I mean, showing that he could hang in the main event of a pay-per-view. We had Blackpool Combat Club against Kingston and Shibata.
Did you mention the Meet Forever match?
Yep. Miro and Hobbs started that chant during that match too.
The 8-man tag.
The 8-man. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Bullet Club Gold, FTR and the Bucks in the semi-main. Dave gave that 4.5. I mean, you finish just looking at the Observer. 5 Takeshita Omega, 4.5. That 8-man, 4.5. The main event. Plus 5 earlier on the card with Bryan and Starks. And Some of those I probably wouldn't be at 4.5, but I would definitely have them over 4. I would have Danielson and Starks at 5 for sure. All 4 of those are definitely over 4 stars to me. So I feel pretty confident taking this as my show of the year. I would have liked to have gotten Wrestle Dream, but I'll take All Out, and just being there adds on to it personally to have this on my board. So
in the other part of that show, and this is an extreme exaggeration, but it kind of felt like it saved AEW a little bit coming out of All In and Punk getting fired. And it was like, going into that show, it felt like we were kind of in the doldrums, a little down in spirits, and there was the fact that almost the entire card had to be announced in, a few days. And then it just completely over delivered, and I praised it in our review pod. It's like, I praised the crowd because you had people trying to start the CM Punk chants and everybody shut it down because it's not about him anymore. It was about the company, it was about this show. It was about this wrestling. So I thought the entire, obviously we're biased because, some of us were there, but it felt magical in that arena.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
We
Jesse?
were near a lot of those chants, by the way. The meat started, I think, a section over. The CM Punk stuff started a few rows in front of us. I mean, Justin, you and I covered the pre-show, and we were very nervous in how we got tickets to this, and we were just like, this is going to fall flat.
Mm-hmm.
You were looking forward to Orange Cassidy the most, wrestling Jon Moxley in the main event, and then other than that, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if Ricky Starks was going to wrestle, or if he was going to wrestle at all, because CM Punk's status and future at the time wasn't determined. And then Saturday night, they go, oh, Punk's fired. Here comes Danielson to step in. And then they delivered just, for me, it was match of the night. I think maybe for probably the two of you on the left probably as well. I mean, yeah, top to bottom, just being there and having such low expectations in them for them to exceed it and then some definitely ranks it up there. It was definitely on my top 4.
Yeah. Phil, you were there, right? What do you think?
Yeah, really, really good show. Getting to see Brian Russell in the United Center, getting Final Countdown in the United Center, sitting in the press scrum afterwards, and Brian was like, this was a big deal for him to wrestle here because he was he was a Seattle Supersonics fan, and I got to boo one of my favorite wrestlers in the world because don't come in my city and talk about the Supersonics when those guys got beat.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh man. The first Bulls game I ever went to was Bulls Supersonics. Not the finals, I wish, but years after. I think it was like 05 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I
just
love
a
that.
great night of wrestling. I of course am joking about the Brian stuff, but also, like I said, getting to see Brian get that moment, and like I said, hearing Final Countdown here, and getting to see him talk about drop a Sonics reference, and then go on to talk about Sean Kemp in the press conference. It's like, where are we right now?
Yeah. That was incredible. I remember watching that back when we got home the next day because I love watching the press scrums. And Brian's always great in the press scrums. Everything he says just comes across so from the heart, like he means every word. He's such an honest dude, just comes across as a great guy. So yeah, that's awesome that you got to participate in that and be there.
All of us being NBA fans as well, too. Yeah, that's a definite fantastic reference right there.
Yeah. All right. And with that, I think I'll go into my match of the year because all I have left is match of the year, tag team of the year. And I think I'm going to go back to Revolution on this one. I could go with Brian and Starks from All Out. I don't think that one's been taken. We've only had 2 match of the years, right? Yeah. But I think I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go back to an event that I didn't get for event of the year, but I can get the match of the year from that. So I'm going to go with Bryan Danielson, MJF, the Iron Man match from Revolution. It was just, we have been very vocal on this show that we want to see Brian have a world title run so bad. I know he's winded down his career. We would love to see him just hold the AEW world title. Going into this match, we didn't think that was going to happen at all because it was so early in MJF's run. But the match was so good that at times, like, I almost felt like maybe it's going to happen, And I thought that the heel work on MJF, of course, was incredible in this match. I remember there was one point in the match where he like screamed at the camera, "Tell Birdie hi" or something like that. They go, I mean, what was it, like a little bit over? They had the overtime, right? They tied 65 minutes, about 65 minutes in this match. The announcing too, Justin, you always talk about how you have the superpower to like totally ignore the announcing, but I thought the announcing in this one actually added quite a bit to it.
Agree.
They at the very end, they had MJF and he's locking in the label lock, and Brian's hand drops 2 times, and then Brian's trying to fight out of it. The crowd's like way behind him, and Excalibur screams, "Bryan Danielson will not be denied." But then he slumps back down and it's over and he taps out. I thought it was a great ending. 4-3, I believe, was the tally on it at the end. But we said it on the pod. I think the next morning or that night, I can remember when we reviewed it, but we said greatest Iron Man match of all time in the discussion, at least. I think Kyle was on that show. That's when he was still on the pod. And I still think all these months later, I think it is probably the best Iron Man match of all time. So if I can have that on my board, I'm definitely going to take it. So I feel confident adding it here. Justin, was that you reacting? I was looking at my notes from Revolution. I heard someone react when I picked it. Somebody did.
I already had my match of the year, but I mean, I love that match. That would probably be number 2 for me. It's not often that an Iron Man match flies by, especially when it's not like 8 to 9 or 10 to 11. Like it was still, there wasn't a whole lot of falls in it, but it told a perfect story, and it really made MJF. And unfortunately, that was probably the peak of MJF for the year in his title reign. But just incredible stuff from both guys.
Yeah.
I also had it at number 2.
Jesse.
Yes, it was a toggle between that and Hangman and Swerve for 2 and 3. So I think it was just for me, it was the coming out party for Max that put it over the top right there. And of course, Danielson adding just yet another all-timer to his resume. How it's really, really difficult to make a over 60-minute match compelling. And the two of them, I didn't really blink throughout the match. I was intently focused for the full 7 minutes and then some. So yeah, give them the kudos.
Phil?
Yeah. Match I was lucky enough to be in the building for. Really, really good match. I think Max has at least like 2 or 3 of them from last year that are very, very good. That's definitely his best match as champion, his best title defense. I mean, it just capped off a really, really good run of matches for Brian as well before he went off TV for a little bit. Yeah, hard to argue with it. For one of the top matches of last year.
Nice. I didn't know you were at that. Now I'm even more jealous. Awesome. I don't even remember, where was Revolution? San Francisco?
Chase Center.
Yeah, Chase Center, yeah.
That's right. Nice. All right. Well, this leaves Justin Joint. Justin, where are you going with your pick?
I am giddy right now. All I have left is Event of the Year and my Wrestler of the Year, Men's Wrestler of the Year. Event of the Year is all filled up for you guys, so I can wait on that. And I get to take who I would have ranked number 2 as my Men's Wrestler of the Year behind Bryan Danielson. I'm going with the guy who had the best start to finish story of the entire year. I'm going with Eddie Kingston, who loses to Claudio at Supercard of Honor in a fantastic match. He goes to the G1, his dream, and just puts on freaking classic after classic after classic, fulfills his dream of becoming a world champion by beating Claudio, the guy he couldn't beat at AEW Grand Slam, goes on to the C2 once again, classic after classic, telling just an absolute beautiful story. And then finally getting to beat Danielson, where it's incredible. His celebration of beating Danielson was more than his celebration from when he won the Ring of Honor world title. I mean, you could just see how much that meant to him. So he overcomes that Danielson mountain and then goes on to climb the other one, to conquer Jon Moxley, his best friend, in another just absolute amazing match. You know, it's just, there's definitely guys, Ospreay, Danielson, you know, you line up the matches side to side, you compare star ratings. Ospreay, Danielson are going to just knock Eddie out of the park. But there's not a story better in 2023 than Eddie Kingston's.
Jesse?
He wasn't even in my consideration for the top 4, but what you just told me, like, sold me on it completely. And we're all Eddie Kingston fans, marks, whatever you want to call us in here. So to see him get his upcomings and pretty much the only thing, there's one thing left on his resume to do. We don't know if he's ever going to accomplish it. So if he doesn't, I mean, this is the banner year, especially the banner month, being able to put the final nail in the coffin of his demons to be able to defeat Danielson and Moxley back to back. How many performers can say that they've done that? Mm-hmm. Especially when they're argue that they're at their peaks, but if they're not, they're close. Mm-hmm. So great pick. Now that I think about it. Nice, Justin.
Thank you.
Well, I think when you think about the voting for this too, with it the December that he just had, I mean, that's going to be fresh in people's minds. So I see some strategy with that too. But yeah, I did not have him in consideration. I had, like, when I say 7 guys in my list, I did not have him on there, but you make a compelling case. We all love Eddie Kingston. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I think he made a very, very good case for Eddie. I think the Continental Classic was such a shot in the arm for AEW, and I thought his story was the perfect way to handle it and the perfect way to cap it off. Having him finally overcome a bunch of his demons, sliding in there the CM Punk stuff as well with the bum sign and the King of the Bum stuff. I caught that as well. I thought that was a great way for him to cap off all of this stuff that he has gone through from his entire time with AEW up to this point, and kind of finish off all of those stories at the same time. The only thing that's left for him to do is to go back and win the TNT Championship, because that's how he debuted.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, I mean, he slayed his final boss, it felt like, at, you know, the Continental Classic. But yeah, there's a couple of more things he could do, and that I didn't even think about that. That is how he debuted. That would be perfect. I could see that. We all, like, thought, especially during the pandemic, he would have made a good pandemic era champion for the world title, because it just seemed like it was totally wide open. He would have been viable in that role. I don't know if we'll ever see him get into that you know, part of the card, but he is always super popular. He legit is a tough guy. TNT title, that would be great. I could definitely see that one happening. So I like to pick, Justin. I didn't consider it. Now I feel kind of dumb not having considered it, but it's a good pick. Jesse, what do you got?
Real quick, my men's wrestler of the year went 7 deep. And like I said, I would have gone Ospreay or Danielson. Well, no, I take that back. It would have been Danielson, Kingston, then Ospreay. And then kind of a tier below that.
Oh, I took you as a Roman Reigns guy.
Nope.
No. Okay. All right. Jesse, where are you going?
This is where it gets really, really tough to find that third gem here. And I have it down to 3 people. Just scrolling really, really quick to kind of jog my memory of this category. I am going Women's Wrestler of the Year here, folks. I got to do it character-wise as well. I know her matches haven't been the greatest. Timeless Toni Storm will be my pick for the 2023. She won the title twice, 2 separate occasions. You could argue she never should have lost it the first time to Hikaru Shida. I think that is something, especially if they're saving that moment for Saraya. They could have just had Saraya pin whoever and have Storm get it back a little bit later. I didn't like that at all. But again, as soon as she lost the title the second time and be able to flip the switch to this magical character that she's had ever since to entertain the fans on TV, to get me focused on a picture-in-picture commercial breaks, something I've never seen before. I mean, yeah, tremendous work this year from Toni Storm. And it's about time, because I've been following her loosely, and I know that she's got a past in Stardom. She was the World of Stardom champion there. Just again, red belt, which is top belts of the entire promotion. So she's always had the talent. She was fine in NXT UK as well. It's just as soon as she came over to the United States, it's just when all of a sudden I think something just got lost in translation, and this became a fresh start for her. So to see her all of a sudden just go from kind of okay, she's stuck with the Outcast to holy cow, this is a pretty incredible character, the uniqueness of a 1940s and 50s character, and still to be able to wrestle pretty well. I think that's a decent case at least to make for Toni Storm.
Yeah, I actually had her third on my list.
Same.
So I had Ripley and Athena up there, and then I had her. I think just, the character shift is a good selling point on her. Just totally flipping her character, multiple title wins, like you said. Yeah, I like the pick. I mean, the category is a bit thin this year as far as like top level, and for her having held the title in the second biggest promotion 2 times and to become such a featured part, like you watch her earlier in the year and you watch her now, it's like same person, a totally different character work that she's doing. I like the pick a lot. Thoughts, guys? Phil?
Yeah, I think that she had a really, really good year. I think she's consistently been not just one of the best women to come from WWE, but one of the best ex-WWE stars AEW has managed to sign. I think she's been consistently good for them the entire time she's been there. I think right now she's just on a run where she's managed to get everything together. The matches, since she's become Timeless Toni Storm, are kind of hit or miss, but I think she's going to pull it together.
Yeah, that was exactly kind of going to be my point, is that she kind of finally found the character. Now she just needs to merge that with, the in-ring work of her previous character, and then she'll kind of have it all together.
Yeah. All right. So now where are we at?
We got Phil, who
Phil,
has
back to you.
Women's Wrestler of the Year and Match of the Year, which I am very excited to hear what he picks for that one.
Yeah.
I think you guys thought you got me in a box when you pick Athena for Women's Wrestler of the Year. But at least you not know I covered women's wrestling for a long time. I watch a lot of wrestling. So not going to get me in the box, not going to get me out of here. I am going to go with Tam Nakano because she had a fantastic year, going from being kind of the bridesmaid at Wrestle Kingdom, and people forget she was in that match with Kyrie because the match was so short, and then you got Mercedes' debut right after it, so nobody talks about poor Tam at all. Then she came behind and beat Julia out of nowhere for the World of Stardom Championship, became the first woman since I think 2017 to hold both the World and Wonder Stardom belt at the same time, beating Mina Shirakawa. Also had a really, really good match with Shuri. I think, of course, it's hard for me to argue that anybody had the year that Athena did, but I think Tam quietly had a very, very good year in terms of accomplishments, historic moments. Because again, people counted this woman out like she was done. As soon as that Julia match was announced, people just knew Julia was going to retain.
Nice.
I did some investigative reporting on this, and just seeing that she's been World of Stardom champ now for, I think we're approaching 9 months. Top of the promotion. And then correct, Phil, you can answer this as well. Which faction?
Cosmic Angels. But yeah, she's hurt constant at the moment, so she actually is not champion. But I mean, still, regardless, like she was just at the last Stardom pay-per-view. She's going to be back from injury soon. But I mean, she never lost that belt. She had to drop the belt because of injury.
I also considered Julia to draft.
Oh, can't hear you, Jesse. I think you might have hit your mic button.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Yep, you're back.
Okay. I think Julia was in my consideration as well. She's the New Japan Strong Women's Champion, on top of what she's doing in Stardom as well. And she's obviously the most coveted second most coveted free agent out there from a women's perspective. We all know who number 1 is right now. But, I mean, she's dang near as talented as Mercedes is too. So, I mean, who knows? I think it all depends on where she lands, where we go from there. But, yeah, Tam Nakano had a tremendous year in 2023. Yeah, she was like the very tip top of my honorable mention.
Good pick. Very good pick. All right. You got 2 in a row, Phil. Your last pick coming up.
Match of the year.
Match
of the year.
I am going to go with, since I could not get Athena, I am going to go with Willow versus Athena from Death Before Dishonor. I think it's one of the best women's matches of the year. But I think also it's just one of the best matches of the year. I think it just main eventing a show with Willow, being one of the first women to main event a Ring of Honor show was a big deal. And then they proceeded to have the match of the night. They proceeded to have a kind of a love story to women's wrestling across this match. Absolutely loved this match. If you did not see this match, if you're one of those people always behind the paywall, go and watch this match. It is really one of the best matches of 2023.
Yeah, I was glad when I picked Athena, and I said that, she kind of like Rhea, she maybe didn't quite have, a lot of classic matches. That Phil put me in my place by, reminding us all that she actually did. And I was trying to make the point, I just didn't articulate it, was that because like all of her stuff was behind a paywall, just not a lot of people saw it. Not a lot of people talked about it. But the classic that I was referring to was this match. Everything that Phil said, this is easily the women's match of the year. And shit, to his point, it's, one of the best matches of the year. Period.
Yeah.
It disappoints me to see Willow Nightingale's direction right now. She's just kind of stuck in the middle. Like I alluded to you with you, Ryan, the week before Wrestle Dream and how she was just a throw-in opponent for Julia Hart. I wasn't heartbroken, but I was shocked. Like you could have easily, It was almost on par for me with Hiroshi Tanahashi pinning Swerve Strickland in Collision right before Forbidden Door. It was very close. So yeah, it was a good match, very good match.
The paywall aspect sucks because so much good work is being done in Ring of Honor by the women that I really hope they get a streaming deal announced this year and get something going so that more people are getting access, or even, even if they were on like Max or something, people might just stumble upon it and get exposed to the work that's happening there versus it's like we talk about this on the pod. Unless you're a super hardcore wrestling fan, it's so hard to justify paying for Ring of Honor right now outside of the pay-per-views, just because of like you see the belts on Dynamite, you see stuff being defended on TV that it's hard unless you really want to see and you're a completist like a lot of us are. And more people should be seeing this work for sure. So good pick. I like that one. You got a strong collection here, Phil. Nice job on your first draft. I like it. Jesse, where you at?
This is where it's tough because I have my number 3 and my number 4 wrestler of the year sitting there. And I can make an argument for both. I'm going to go with the one that was the most consistent from top to bottom. As much as it pains me to go against Maxwell Jacob Friedman in this conversation right now, because I think that second half of the year with the character-wise, it just was a little middling with the stories. And, I mean, he had the great match with Kenny Omega on Collision. Closed the year just fine there, too. But I think top to bottom, I got to give a WWE person some props. Gunther, baby.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Gunther's my wrestler of the year in this category. I think start to finish, from a uniqueness perspective too, there's nobody like him worldwide. There's nobody. There might be somebody in Japan, but I can't think of anybody there right now. Just to see, he's so unique to the WWE. You could throw him in AEW, he'd be suited just fine. And oh, by the way, he can actually talk. He was able to go back and forth with The Miz. That's actually one of the rare things that helped Gunther in this aspect, was working with The Miz on the microphone. So we had that. We had a series of Chad Gable matches that were awesome. The triple threat, the Sheamus and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. That was on my very short list for match of the year as well. It was my WWE match of the year. I mean, I think 2024 could be a bigger year for him. Maybe the 4th World Championship in the promotion. We shall see there. I think Gunther over MJF just because of the consistency here is the reason why I'm taking him.
Jesse, you forgot the number one reason why anybody should be able to pick him for Wrestler of the Year. And my apologies to Rick and Stuart in the Facebook group, but He broke that goddamn Honky Tonk Man's Intercontinental title record. Goodbye. Sayonara. We got a
Finally.
real champion now with the record.
500 plus days. I wish we could have added that Ricochet match in from SmackDown at the very end of 2022, because that was one of my favorite matches of that year too.
Yeah. I mean, and just, the elevation of the title, continuing to elevate the title too.
You know, and kind of like just how like Athena stands out with her in-ring work compared to like everybody else around her. Gunther's the same way in the WWE ring. There's just like, there's nobody like him in that entire federation. You know, he's one of the few reasons that make me, you know, watch them or want to watch them. It's Gunther. He's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Stands out from WWE, can feel quite bland at times, but he definitely has a totally different feel to him. And I'm glad they've given him the long title run and hopefully setting him up for something bigger down the line. We'll see. Phil, any thoughts on Gunther's year?
Yeah, he had a really, really good year. Just starting the year with the Royal Rumble, having a whatever the record is for the amount of time in the match, was second away from winning this thing. Then going on and, like you said, having a triple threat at WrestleMania, annihilating Miz in Chicago, sitting around and watching other people chanting for Miz to win this match. And I was just like, guys, this isn't happening. This guy's getting up out of here. Have you not been listening to the promos going into this? This man is Thanos. It is inevitable. He is going to lose. And watching everybody around me, dreams get crushed as this guy lost. I'm like, no, what did you think was going to happen? This guy is going to lose.
Oh, I wish I was in the crowd with you just for that moment.
Yeah, there were so many people chanting Miz around me, and I was like, this isn't happening, guys. Miz is losing.
Jesse's preview of that match on his, I think it was on Unplugged, his Patreon show that we have on our Patreon paywall, just talking about the people who thought that Miz had a chance. What are you smoking? What?
No. And gave you another chance on Raw. You thought he was going to get another chance at this? Nope. This guy is losing. I also love the idea that people think that, Miz is maybe the best Intercontinental Champion ever. And Gunther beating him with the walls of Jericho. Sorry.
Yes. Yes. I have to ask you one question off topic, Phil. I know you were escorted to the back into the press room when CM Punk came out in Chicago. I need your thoughts on that before we go to the last two picks.
Yeah. I don't know why that happened. I think that there were many things that happened that night that I didn't find as amusing as other people thought. And there were quite a few people that laughed at my pain when I tweeted it. And I was just like, this isn't funny. Like, why am I in here? Why is this happening? Like, seriously, what is going on here? Why did you do this to us? And other people were just, and the other thing that made it funnier is that people were like, aha, you media folks thought that, they were going to let you know that Punk was back. And I'm just like, no. Everybody reported that this was not happening because it seemed like it wasn't happening because none of this got in. There was no talks until this week. So no, me being in this press room while this is happening proves that all the reports about it were correct. And I don't know.
I assume you could hear the crowd in the press room.
We
going crazy.
How we found out, I think Chris Van Vliet had the video because Van Vliet was sitting next to me. I think he had the video somewhere on Twitter or on one of his accounts somewhere where we could all see it on like a small TV laying on the floor. And I'm just like, what is this? And of course we can hear Colton personality after a while. You can hear the reaction and everything. But yeah, that's how we found out is somebody was like, wait, Punk is here. And it was on the TV, on the floor in the press room.
Oh my God. Wow.
I felt your pain all the way through that, Phil. I'm sorry.
Yeah. On that note, Justin, what do you have? What is your last category? Where are you at now?
All I have left is event of the year.
Okay.
And I have 3 events left on my short list. And I guess to give them away, these two I'm not going to pick. I coming into tonight, I was going to take All In if possible, just because of its historical significance, and it doesn't have any true blue classic matches on it, but like just the presentation of it, it looked incredible, and just the fact that they put that many people into Wembley Stadium, the accomplishment of it is just undeniable. Then on the flip side of that, the other one I'm considering or was considering not taking it, and I'm talking about them because you guys have this filled up, but and this is more about just like top to bottom in-ring work, would be Forbidden Door. It was just kind of, there's not a bad match on the card. It's really good. It's got, obviously I think Osprey Omega from Wrestle Kingdom is way better than the one from Forbidden Door. I don't really like the shenanigans at the end of this one, but it's still an incredible match, but just a great show overall. I have chosen to diversify my draft a little bit. It is AEW heavy. And it's just, I'm not a big WWE fan these days, but the one thing that they do right is spectacle. And WrestleMania Night 1 was just a really fun show. And to me, I think it's a top 5 like entrance design, or however you want to put that. It's just an incredible stage. You also had Ray and Dom, which I think over-delivered in a major way. Ray Charlotte, we've already talked about that numerous times. An incredible, hard-hitting match. And then the tag team title match to end the show, the main event, Sami Zayn and KO finally getting their moment, even though it's a consolation prize for Sami Zayn after losing to Roman Reigns the previous month. Anywho, it's still a fun show, top to bottom, even if Cena mailed it in against Austin Theory, which actually makes me like it a little more now that I said it out loud. Good for him. Just nobody does it like WWE on a big stage. LA, WrestleMania, Night 1. Night 1, undefeated in WrestleManias?
Yeah.
Justin, I think we came on, I think it was you and I on the review of Night 1, and then Jesse did Night 2 with me, if I remember right. And yeah, we were like blown away by Night 1. Best WWE pay-per-view in a long time. Mm-hmm. Best night of WrestleMania in many years. Yeah, I mean, if I waited a little bit longer, I was going to consider this. This was definitely on my short list. It was a hell of a night for sure. Jesse, go ahead.
It was my number 4.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, All In was 5 for me. I think you mentioned it all. And when we're done with this pod, I'm watching Ray and Dom just for the entrances alone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, Dom, don't get me wrong in how spectacular that was, but for Ray to also have a mix of Snoop Dogg, Dre, I think a couple other hip hop songs in there before he came to the ring. Like I wanted nothing more than to jump through the television and just be there. Oh man, that had me just going. And then of course, I think and Kevin and Sammy versus the Usos was on my short list for match of the year too. The drama, the story, and they closed it brilliantly. The crowd was eating out of its hands, and rightfully so. That's on a very, very short list, I think, for WWE match of the year. Probably 1 or 2 in most people's cases. So yeah, great pick, Justin.
The only way it could have, gotten over the top, which would have gotten drafted way earlier if the IC title was on Night 1 instead of Night 2.
Mm-hmm. Seth Rollins, Logan Paul was a pretty solid match as well. Yeah. They had the tag turmoil in the beginning.
Lost him again.
Can't hear you.
It's very good.
What's up?
You there, Jesse?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm here. No, saying that the
lost your audio.
Yeah.
It just went off again.
I keep looking at it.
I can't hear you.
What the hell's going on here?
I can see the blue light, and I can see it go off on your feed when it happens. Oh, it just went off.
No, it's there.
That's bad. Okay.
So the tag team turmoil match I thought was very good as well. With the
another one that over-delivered.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that whole night was fantastic.
Phil, I know you watch WWE too, but I mean, we're pretty low on WWE these days. I don't know how you feel, but that's undeniable. The night one of Mania was a great show.
I was surprised that none of you guys picked night one up to this point, because I feel like it's widely considered one of the best shows of the year. It was my first WrestleMania that I've ever gone to. So it's up there. I think that WrestleMania 39 would go down as one of the best WrestleManias ever if they did not decide to not just give Cody the win.
Yep.
But it is
Yeah.
what it is. We'll all just pretend that Sammy and KO versus the Usos was the main event of the show. But yeah, no, night one was really good. I think night two had some odd decisions on it, but even night two was pretty good. You still had Bianca, Asuka versus on that one. You still had the triple threat for the IC title on that one. Yeah, you just had odd decisions like the Balor Edge match didn't really deliver the way I think on what a lot of people wanted it to. Yeah.
Stopping a match, a Hell in the Cell match because of blood? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Right,
They
right.
had like the forgettable women's tag 4-way as
Mhm.
well. That was also on there.
Yeah.
But all around, it was one of the best WrestleManias in recent memory. It's just they just didn't stick that landing, man. You just could have gave Cody the win, but
I would say best WrestleMania since 31, probably.
San
I mean,
Fran?
it's been a long time.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
I mean, I think WWE had a strong year of pay-per-views as well.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
think just that for my personal enjoyment, AEW had better shows in terms of what I like. But I mean, Backlash was very, very good. Money in the Bank was good. I thought SummerSlam was very good as well. They had a good year of pay.
Backlash was on my short list.
Backlash was incredible. Yeah, that was an incredible show, especially just the crowd.
Mhm.
They got to get back there. That crowd in Puerto Rico was amazing.
Agreed.
Yeah, so
I won't go
yeah.
as far as saying Bad
Yeah.
Bunny versus Damian Priest was match of the year quality, though.
Mm,
No.
I like the match a lot, but
It was good.
The other legacy of Backlash is that I think that was the first time they used the more understated entranceway,
Mhm.
where they had the fans totally in the round, and they're really coming out of the crowd like the old days, and they've kept that up ever since. You can sell more tickets. You know, they had that style at Survivor Series, Phil, in Chicago, and they've kept it. I love that entranceway. It's so much different than TV. Again, you get more people in the building, but it's just I like the look of it a lot better. And when they brought that out at Backlash, I remember on the pod we talked so much about it. Just the entranceway was awesome. The crowd was on top of them as they came out, and the crowd was so hot. And yeah, I was actually kind of considering that in my. I mean, if it would have been like a top 10, I probably would have had it in my top 10. Honestly, just because of the crowd. It's a great crowd.
Just while we're talking about WWE, just to be clear, we all know what match of the year is, right? That is the triple threat between The Miz, Shane McMahon, and Snoop Dogg.
Oh, that triple
obviously
threat.
match of the year.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that triple threat IC at Mania was great.
Goodbye to Shane's quad.
Yeah. God. You guys, I got the last pick in this draft. It's tag team of the year, and I don't have a lot to choose from. Yeah, it's just after that top three, FTR, Owens and Zayn, Aussie Open, it is a huge drop off. Now, I know that Motor City Machine Guns had a good year, but I don't watch a lot of Impact. I just don't. So I can't in good faith choose them. I don't watch near as much New Japan as I used to. I'm going to try to get back into it now, but I didn't see enough of anything outside of the major shows to choose anyone from New Japan.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know there has been a lot of love for the astronauts. That's not New Japan, but I know a lot of people love them. I have not seen a single one of their matches yet, which is on me, but I know a lot of people love them.
Mm-hmm. So this is really tough because there's basically two tag teams I'm considering, and I feel match quality is probably better one way, but it's going to stagnate my overall board because I picked Rhea Ripley, and I was considering like the various Judgment Day combinations for tag team of the year, but I don't want to go with Judgment Day twice on my 5 categories. So I think and it was definitely a down year for him, but there's still one of the big time over acts in the promotion. I don't want to be too AEW heavy, but I feel like I have to because WWE Judgment Day is the only other one I would consider. So I got to go with the Acclaimed. And it's not for match quality. They had some good matches with Lethal and Jarrett like early in the year. But I guess if you look at their year as a whole, just as personalities, what they've done story-wise, I mean, they started the year as tag team champions. They also got the trios title. So you got both things going for them. They did the storyline with Billy Gunn and, retiring and coming back. I think the House of Black matches were fine. They weren't like totally great matches, but they were fine. I think the storyline they did was over the summer was decent. And just because this is a category that is so top heavy and I don't have a lot of choices, I have to go with them. I mean, we were at All Out the year before in 22 when they almost got the tag titles, and that crowd was so unbelievably hot for those guys that night. And then they finally did get them. There's no question 2023 was a down year in comparison to 2022, but they are still massively popular. So it's not for match quality. It's more just position in the company, holding two different sets of tag team championships. I got to go with the Acclaimed, I think.
I mean, it's a very short list of professional wrestling superstars who have their own specialty world title designs, for whatever that's worth.
True. Phil, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say the Claims up there. I would say like ABC is a good gift from Impact.
Oh, that's right.
Who else is tag teams? Tag team is rough.
Young Bucks had a down year, it seems like, but they're still good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you get past like the top three, because AEW's tag division has been a bit of a struggle this year. I think having both belts on Judgment Day for most of the year has kind of hobbled WWE's divisions as well. At the same time, Pretty Deadly has come up pretty strong from NXT. I think that they have been one of the best call-ups. Probably not this year, but eventually. Creed is the Creeds are going to be tag team of the year.
Yes,
it's coming. Those guys are super popular. I would say the best thing coming out of this year in terms of NXT is just how well they've managed to bring up tag teams, and eventually the tag division is going to be good. They just got to split those belts up and figure out what they're going to do.
What is going on with the Street Profits and specifically Montez Ford? What are they dragging their feet on?
Remember when they kept teasing us with the split that never happened, and they kept acting like he was going to be a singles wrestler, never went anywhere. I think they've been probably the biggest victims of not having tag belts on SmackDown, because there's nothing for them to really do other than have the storyline with Bobby. And I mean, sure, it's a popular act, but there's nothing else for them to do as a team. Like, I think that's hurting them a lot. But I also think the stop-start push with Montez has hurt them a little bit as well.
The Elimination Chamber performance that he had.
Yeah, I forgot that was last year because they haven't done anything with him since then.
Yeah, it's a shame. To Michael Jenkinson's points in the comments, Swerve had a half year. Really didn't do that much in the first half that was super noteworthy. He was still waiting on Keith Lee.
Jesse, what was the loss that you pointed out he had in like midsummer?
Hiroshi Tanahashi. You can't throw him in any type of wrestler of the year for that.
Yeah.
No. So
I mean, the last 3-4 months of the year, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
But
and the momentum going forward, I throw Samoa Joe ahead of Swerve right now. Go ahead.
Once we got to All In with Swerve, and he gets a match with Sting, teaming with Christian against Sting and Darby. That kind of felt like the kickoff of it.
Yeah, I would say the Darby feud for sure was really what kicked off his year. Man, all the stuff with AR Fox he was doing was really, really good.
It was.
Unfortunate.
I'd be stunned if we do the same style show next year. I'd be stunned if he's not one of the wrestlers of the year. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know how they can't go with him. It's so obvious that he is the guy to go with right now that I can't imagine Tony not doing it. If he's not like at least champion or getting a title match by Double or Nothing at the latest, something's wrong. Like at the latest, I think he should do it earlier, but like at the very latest.
I am going to say the bold prediction. I believe that he will be champion by March.
I hope so. I think that's kind of what we've proposed on the pod before, isn't it? By Revolution? Yeah.
Because I feel like at this point, there's no way you can't just go with him by Revolution at the very least. Because I mean, I get why you put the belt on Joe. I get that you had to finish up that storyline, but I almost feel like Swerve should have been the one to beat Max as well. Because he had all the momentum on the side. You could see the trajectory was there. I'm not mad at Joe as champion. Joe had a fantastic year as well, but it just really feels like it's Swerve's time.
Yeah, I would love to see him win it at Revolution, if not on TV before, and then him and Hangman main eventing Double or Nothing in Vegas. But just rekindling that feud. That'd be great. That'd be a great world title match for that show, I think. So I sure hope so.
I'll go one tag team to close this out, and I know that they're split and gone. You could give them this almost as like a Hall of Fame award for 2023, the Usos. They had a good first 3-4 months, and oh, by the way, they pinned Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns in a tag match, Usos versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. So you got to give him something for that. I mean, you could throw him on an honorable mention list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just still don't understand why they split them up. I really don't have that much of an interest in a Jimmy versus Jay match. I get that they won it, but in terms of like that moment of Jay turning on Roman finally and just how hot that crowd was for them as a tag team, I don't get why you split them. That just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
And the Jimmy turn was stupid. Like, it just was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to tell Jesse Velasquez about Jey Uso and his lack of television wins since they went on this singles quote-unquote push for him.
Just disappoints me. Push him in a pseudo Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels way when they were going towards the Intercontinental Championship at least and breaking away from their respective tag teams. Don't just hold them hostage and throw them in another tag team to win a title with Cody Rhodes. That made zero sense to me.
Forgot
he
that
has
happened.
He has the perfect background to go after Gunther. He's the guy who got the win on Roman. Oh, Gunther, nobody can beat you in 500 some days. I beat another dude who hadn't been pinned, in how long. I'm going to do it to you too. It makes all the sense in the world. Nothing.
What an easy story you just told, Ryan.
Right. It's just logical.
Yeah.
Don't make it so hard.
I just still think they just see him as a tag team guy. I think that's why they haven't pushed him in that direction. I think it's very clear that even the way he pinned Roman, he pinned him in a tag team match. It was not a singles match. I just still think they see him as a tag team guy, and nothing they've done has really proven me wrong in that.
No. All right, guys. Well, this has been fun. I think we'll throw the results up on Twitter, probably the Facebook group, see what people think who has the best big board. I mean, obviously, if we could all just straight up choose a wrestler of the year and everything, it'd shake out a little bit different. But I think the draft angle gives this kind of an interesting spin, hopefully made for an interesting listen. We always get guests on these draft shows, so really happy to have Phil Lindsay with us tonight. Phil, where can the listeners find you? What do you got coming up?
You can, of course, watch Grapsody every Saturday at noon Eastern on Fightful's YouTube channel. That is me, Righteous Reg, as a duo. You can also find my writing at Bleacher Report. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilDO616.
Nice. Really appreciate you coming on tonight, man. This was a blast.
Thanks for having me.
For the listeners, do you just mind if I run down our picks real quick?
Yeah, do it.
All right. So for men's wrestler of the year, Phil took Ospreay, Jesse, Gunther. I took Eddie Kingston, Ryan, Brian Danielson. Women's wrestler of the year, Phil took Nakano, Jesse took Toni Storm. I took Athena, Ryan took Rhea Ripley. For match of the year, Phil took Willow versus Athena from
Death Before Dishonor.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ring of Honor.
Jesse took Osprey and Omega from Wrestle Kingdom. I took Hangman and Swerve from Full Gear. Ryan took MJF and Danielson from Revolution. Event of the year, Phil took Wrestle Dream. Jesse, Revolution. I took WrestleMania Night 1. Ryan, All Out. And for tag team of the year, Phil took Sammy and KO. Jesse took Aussie Open. I took FTR. And Ryan took The Acclaimed.
Here it is. Pretty strong
was fun.
draft boards, I think. Yeah, great idea, Justin. We've done a lot of these award shows over the years since 2016, but we've never done one as a draft. So hopefully everyone like that, guys. If you want to hear more from us, we have a new classic show coming up very, very soon on our Patreon page. As I say, is every single week. The best way to support the show is over on Patreon. Top Rope Nation Classics. We got the poll right now. It's the runoff between Royal Rumble 96 and Royal Rumble 91. That poll will end in about 2 days from now, about 40 hours left on the poll. I give it 48 hours. I put it up around lunchtime today. It looks right now, Royal Rumble 91 has a slight lead, but it is pretty close. But whichever wins that, we'll be covering on Top Rope Nation Classics here at the end of the month. We're, of course, going to be doing a Royal Rumble review after that show. We're going to be doing a Royal Rumble preview show. Jesse over on our Patreon side has TRN Unplugged. Jesse, anything in the works for this month you want to tell the listeners about?
Now that my voice is back, Michael Jenkinson and I will finally be covering Mick Foley's title run, or title win, 1/4/1999, and putting a bow on WWF 1998. I'll also have another show the following week with a couple of gentlemen that were with me in the Blue Wire Hustle program. You all are familiar with Blue Wire. So,
Yes.
Yeah, we've always had tremendous chemistry. We're going to put on a really fun show for that. And then down the pipeline, there's stuff that I'm dreaming in my head and just hoping that it manifests itself here in 2024. So look out for it. And then, last thing. Look out for that classic episode if you haven't listened to it already with Ryan, Justin, and I from 2 years ago. It is actually really good.
TRN Unplugged. We talked about, what was it? The first decade of the 2000s?
7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
We covered Hangman and Danielson's rematch.
Mm-hmm.
Covered WWE over the 2 decades and how they've had the same main eventers pretty much rotating.
Yeah.
I mean, not much has changed, has it?
No, definitely not. Yeah, so there you go. TRN Unplugged, TRN Classics. We got TRN Extra once in a while, dropping 2 over on Patreon. So $5 a month gets you access to that. Appreciate all of you. You saw the names scrolling earlier in the show that support us on Patreon. And if you don't got $5 a month, subscribe here on YouTube, totally free, or subscribe on your favorite podcasting platforms. Leave us a written review. We actually did get recently a new written review. I just remembered that. I haven't read it on the show, so I should probably do that. It says this was from Zach on Apple Podcasts, and he left us a written review back in early mid-December. 5 stars. He said, one of the better, more objective wrestling pods, thoughtful analysis on both WWE and AEW. I personally enjoy the AEW coverage more, which is where I think these fellas lean for the most part. You are correct, Zach. At least right now, as we start 2024. So thank you for the review, Zach. If you want to get yours read on the show, get that up on Apple Podcasts. I will read it on the next episode. Guys, this has been a blast. It has been episode 325 of Top Rope Nation. We hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will catch you all next week. Take care.
Eddie Danielson?